It was on February 12, 1941, the Board of Education of the Boardman Rural School met to discuss the construction of a 2,000-seat football stadium for their Spartan grid team. Within 2 months, on April 7, 1941, the school board approved a reinforced concrete stadium. According to old Boardman Rural School records, the school board wanted to get underway with building the project as soon as possible. Erected in the summer of 1941 at a cost of $16,000, the new stadium was financed through a $1 million bond issue. As noted in the Boardman High School yearbook of 1942, the new stadium was fully completed and ready for play on November 15, 1941. Since its opening, Boardman Stadium had great meaning to the Boardman Township community.
This is the first place that I ever had a job. It's the first place that I ever coached and the only place I ever coached.
I think it's a place where the community came together for more than 70 years. It's a place where J.W. Mintier started the Boardman High School Spartan Marching Band, and that's a tradition that Richard Boehm and Tom Groth and Mr. Ruggieri now carried on.
Now, going back and reflecting for a moment, I think it's about the level of competition. And when we would perform on a Friday night, it was a community event. We had tremendous support from our fans, and the level of competition that we played in the Old Steel Valley Conference, it probably was not only one of the better conferences in the state of Ohio, but maybe in the tri-state area.
When I was a real little kid, I remember coming to games and watching, the high school kids play and run around. Like all the little kids do. Then I played on this field for 3 years as a varsity player and had a lot of nice memories from that. And then I coached football for 20 years here. And sometimes on the field, sometimes up in the press box. So I was part of a lot of big games, good teams, some not so good.
It's a place where there was great football games. People would line the field, stand up for the whole game and cheer. It's basically a place where the community joined together in fellowship and sport and had a good time.
Boardman Stadium will have a lasting memory on all Spartan fans, young and old. Speaking of memories, when asked what will you miss most about Boardman Stadium?
Oh, wow. Good memories. It goes back for years of memory.
We had a lot of great memories here.
A lot of wonderful memories.
And there are many memories here that I've had over the years.
Remember, I came here in 1963. I've been in these stands for just about every football game since then. I remember coaching. I remember watching my son play football. I watched some outstanding football teams over the years.
Kids that I had on football teams that I coached. I was an 8th grade coach and an assistant varsity coach. And I did that for the 16 years that I was doing that. And many fine young men, many fine ball players came out, and those memories stick with you.
I remember the first game we did when I started here at Boardman in the fall of 1969. We brought a different style of marching band to Mahoning County and to this area. And I know we started down in the end zone here and we did a run-on, and the fans, you could sense they knew something was different. And the kids, student body stood up and started cheering, and the people did, and we came upfield. And it was just a whole new beginning, and it was like, wow, they really, the kids were saying, hey, they really like us.
Yeah, our 61 season, yeah, it was, the stadium at that time could only seat maybe 2,500 at the most. The visitor side was not what it is today. There was no end type stands as there are today. The fence didn't exist. The track was cinder. It was pretty homey, right.
Memories will certainly be the core of what Spartan Nation will miss the most about Boardman Stadium. However, each one of us will have that one or two things they personally will miss.
Yeah, I think the smell of grass will probably be, and I think just to see the people walking around the track.
Well, the traditions and the history and everything that we did here they'll have to establish new things over at the new stadium.
Well, you know, is grass. You know, I think the game of football should be played on grass.
History of it. Walking in on a Friday night here, the loud crowd, the band playing, just the excitement of here.
I'm going to miss most about this stadium the set of old gentlemen who for years used to stand on the visitor's side.
Boardman Stadium over the years has been home to many great teams and players that would go on to have great professional careers.
We had great players, and you know, you can take, I mean, we had a great quarterback when we had John Ryan, who went to Pitt and was a star, and we had Jason Marucci, who went to Miami of Florida under national championship teams. He was a running back, and we had Brad Smith, who played at North Carolina. Just a ton of Division I players.
First of all, I'm going to remember Jack Hay, who was my quarterback, and Bob Ferrani, who was the wide receiver.
Well, there are two things I remember, and I have to say my brother-in-law is one of them that played in 1950. He graduated in 51, but the team then was Angelo Iannucci, Bud Fiffick, Jay Chuck, and Hugh Banniga.
4 names. Don Pinney in the class of 48, who went to Muskingum College and played. Bob Vogt, who graduated in 50, who went to Denison and played. Mike Shasby, a quarterback who is now a retired doctor, and the success he had, he went to Duke and played football.
One thing is for sure, Boardman Stadium hosted a ton of talent since 1941. But there is one guy everyone in Boardman will always remember.
One that stands out and represents our community the most is probably in the 80, 81, 82 years is Northeastern Ohio and Browns icon Bernie Kosar.
I know Bernie when I was in the National Football League office, and he was at Cleveland, then he was, I think, went down to Dallas, and I would talk to him before the games. I would see him on the field. I haven't seen him for a number of years, but I never saw him play and I shouldn't say that because I saw him play in the championship game out in Arizona when they played Miami.
Bernie Kosar, of course, that's just an obvious for everybody to remember that.
I would have to say that the Kosar years were pretty fun, you know, and it wasn't just Bernie. He had a supporting cast of teammates and classmates that were really terrific athletes.
Boardman Stadium will go down in history as the heart of Boardman Township for over 70 years. Memories will never be lost. There is one thing everyone agrees on. The hope is to bring the traditions from Boardman Stadium over to the new stadium and welcome a new, exciting atmosphere.
I think it's fabulous, really. It's a reflection, I think, of attitude.
Watched it being constructed, and it's going to be a great facility, as good as any high school facility around here, I think. And
first of all, I think it was long overdue, and I think it's going to bring a new pride to the Boardman schools, to the Boardman football team.
Oh, the size of it just astounds me. The field is wonderful to walk on. Right. Be fun to play on it.
Right. Well, I hope the kids buy into the effort that the community made to raise funds to provide them a new site to play football, and I hope that inspires them to play well on not only the football field, but the marching band, the soccer teams, and all the other events that will be there related to our high school. I hope they realize that our community is behind them and we've given them the best we can give them.
Boardman Stadium will live on forever in our hearts. One last time, let's watch the lights go off over Boardman Stadium.